What's up, everyone? Welcome to the second episode of 49ers Weekly Recap, Episode 2, with my boy Kalen from Shifty's 49ers Talk. I'll be bringing them on momentarily. Let's see who pops in. I didn't put any type of thumbnail, so let's see who sees. Let's see who's tuned into my channel and who has those notifications on. So let's get this party started right after this.
Roll up to the party, 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 roll up to the party.
And welcome back. Let's bring in my guest, my co-host, actually not my guest, but my co-host on the 49ers Weekly Recap. Let's say hello to Mr. Shifty himself. What's up, brother?
How are we doing, Beto? Good to see you, man. Niners sickness. The 49ers Weekly Recap show, second episode. Really stoked to get into. I think we'll probably both need to rant a little bit about Sunday night's game. But yeah, really excited to do this again, man. And even going forward, it's going to be a good time.
Appreciate that. I just want to say hello to Javier Rios. Thank you for having that notification bell on, brother. We normally record this and then upload it to the channel, but I figure I never gone up this early, so I wanted to see who would respond to this just going live. So Javier, welcome. So yeah, bro, definitely Kalen, this is I don't know, man. It's gonna be a little bit of a rant, a little bit of frustration, and we're definitely gonna talk about it. People are popping in. Let me say hello to Carcast. What's up, Carcast? Welcome to the channel. We got Tracy Henderson in the house. What's up, brother? We got Jason Parks in the house. Welcome to the channel. And we got my boy Damian Lee in the house. Welcome, sir. So yeah, Kalen, man, I don't know about you, man, but what a terrible, boring, offensive side of the ball for both sides. Defense definitely came to play. Kudos. I just want to give credit where credit is due. The defense played spectacular, man. They played great. They did what they had to do. Special teams chipped in, but everything went for shits when it came to the offensive side of the ball, starting with number 10, which I refuse to mention his name on this broadcast myself. What are your thoughts there, Kalen?
Man, I agree with you right off the bat. One thing, look, I think there's a lot of things to talk about with regards to the offense that was just no good at all. But before we get in, let's give a shout out. That defense, man, that defense was awesome. Like, the performance they put up was phenomenal. The secondary was great. The defensive line was great. The linebackers played really well. Honestly, for me, if I had to say, like, potentially a player of the game in that one, I thought Charvarius Ward was excellent. He had really nice coverage multiple times. Also, there was a really deep pass. I think it was maybe to Sutton, and he broke it up. But the defense was getting after it. Love to see it. Love to see Drake Jackson get his first career sack. But yeah, then you turn to the other side of the ball, and it was ugly. It was ugly. Really hard to watch. So for me, so I streamed the games live, and yeah, it was getting just hard to stay positive towards the end of the game. And then at the end of the game, I couldn't believe we lost the game. But I don't want to get into any kind of crazy rant just yet. But yeah, positives are defense looked phenomenal. Maybe the best defense in the NFL.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a shame. And we're going to get into a rant a little bit down the line. But it's a shame that this defense can be something special this year, really, really special, and we may not really see the potential of it because of the offense. If the defense has to be on the field for the majority of the time, even a great defense that might be in play here could eventually wear out. And when you're tired, you make bad plays. And the defense gave the offense every opportunity to win the game multiple times over. And I knew I was going to say his name. Number 10 chose not to take advantage of it. And it's just frustrating, brother. Frustrating, to say the least. So, yeah, man. So, I just want to say real quick, Daniel, welcome, Daniel, to the house. How you doing? He says, what's up, Beto? I'm out of the hospital recovering from massive. Oh, my goodness.
Wow. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that, brother. I'm glad you're out. I'm glad you're recovering. Prayers to you, brother. Please stay safe. Don't do anything that puts the stress on your heart, brother. I'm glad you're at least out of the hospital. That's a positive. So, man, bro, sorry to hear that. We got Tracy Henderson. Looming season battle. We have to get it together. Yes, it was a very bad offensively. Defenses can only do so much. Absolutely right, Tracy. And this is what I'm afraid of. And feel free to jump in there, Halen. That this defense is so special that we might not be able to see this complete potential down in December and January because of this offense. Do you think this offense that we saw in Denver is going to carry over to Monday night against the Rams? You think this was a kind of a fluke? Maybe Shanahan will get it together. Maybe we'll get things going. We were 3-5 last year, and we picked it up, and we ended up going to the NFC Championship game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think, or let me rephrase, do you have faith still that they can get it together, or do you think this is the offense we're going to see for the rest of the year?
I think the offense really, it can only get better, I think. I mean, outside of one drive, maybe two, everything else looked really bad. But, we've seen the team under Shanahan, with Jimmy. We've seen the team look bad before. We've had some really bad losses before. The one that I kind of point to a lot is when we look at last year, that game against the Cardinals at home against freaking Colt McCoy. But sometimes, and I'd like to think that that maybe this will be a wake-up call. The offense has to get better. Quarterback has to play a lot better. We're seeing it all over Twitter, but there were so many opportunities there for him. And that was one of the things. And not that I'm who am I? But in the game, in the lead up to the game, in the preview that I said is we have to stay aggressive with Garoppolo. There was a number of times it was where Debo got wide open and he hesitated for a second, then didn't throw it. I think he went to try and hit Ayuk and it was incomplete. But the aggressiveness is because everyone knows with Jimmy, typically he's going to go for the short or the intermediate passes. But if we get the defense to, if we force them to have to maybe play long and, try and respect the entire field, that opens up the run game, which is what our bread and butter is. And the fact that he didn't take some of those shots was just crazy to me. I was really hoping, too, that we might see a couple of plays for Danny Gray. Didn't really see any of that whatsoever. The safeties had no respect for the deep pass, and they were right not to because we didn't even really attempt one. But I think the offense, it's going to get better. It's going to get into a rhythm. I think, last year, the offense at the beginning of the season looked very different from the offense at the end of the season. But I think we really just have to start making adjustments. Maybe they were a little bit, after the Seattle game, Jimmy came in, week 2, I thought he played pretty well week 2. And maybe they thought, hey, we can just wing it and make it happen. But yeah, this will be a rude awakening, and look, also, as much as I do want to say that the offense was terrible, which it was, the Denver defense is pretty damn good too. One thing that I came away really impressed with was Patrick Surtain, the second, the cornerback from Denver. He was all over Ayuk. Like Ayuk could not get open. And I think he's going to be one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. And the Denver defense, even coming into this game, very, very good defense. But that's not an excuse for how bad the offense looked. Because the offense was dreadful. So a lot of things that are going to happen. I think one of your questions was, will it get better again on Monday night against the Rams? Maybe a little bit better. I'm not trying to be negative, but if I had to guess right now, I would say the Rams should very much be favored to win that game, considering how the teams have looked. But I'd like to think we can get some kind of a rhythm maybe going against the Rams, and then we have a couple of like easier games after the Rams. So hopefully we can start winning some games again.
Yeah. And you made an interesting point on, and you brought up a name, rookie receiver Danny Gray. I believe that Danny Gray was pretty much drafted to be that deep threat for Trey Lance and get the ball down the field and keep defenses honest. Unfortunately, Trey Lance went down with an injury. He's out for the year. So my question to the people in the comments and to yourself, how much does this affect Danny Gray chances of being in the field and getting those deep throws that Jimmy can't throw? The fact that Jimmy can't throw deep, how much does this affect year one for number 6, Danny Gray?
I mean, for me, if you're asking, I think it's going to affect him big time. Like Danny Gray, I mean, clearly, yeah, he was brought in, with Trey Lance in mind. Trey Lance has the big cannon of an arm who can just, launch it. I still think that even if it ends up being incomplete, even if it ends up being intercepted, I think at least once a game, if not multiple times a game, we have to throw the football deep, just so defenses have to honor that. It pushes the safeties back a little bit. So, and then that will allow things to open up underneath where we can get Kittle the ball, we can get Ayuk the ball, we can get Debo the ball. Maybe they'll have some more room to work. But with Danny Gray, I mean, you have to use the speed. Jimmy's deep ball isn't nearly as good as what Trey Lance can throw, but you still have to make the defenses respect it.
Yeah, you definitely got to still take jabs out there. I think he will be effective quite a bit. I think Brandon Ayuk, like Damian Lee said, I think Danny Gray and Brandon Ayuk will be participants of the lack of arm talent that Garoppolo has. I mean, I knew that Jimmy was mediocre at best, middle of the pack of quarterbacks. And, yesterday's presser of him or the day before, whatever it was kind of funny how he said that he feels that he's out of sync because he didn't have OTAs, right? But yet he doesn't want to use that as an excuse. But if you don't want to use that as an excuse, why did you bring it up? I mean, you are using it as an excuse. It might be an honest excuse, but it's still an excuse at the end of the day. Now, with that said, how much of this bad Jimmy, worse Jimmy than normal, is from him not having the playbook and not being out there with the team through OTAs? Do you believe that could be why he's hurting a little bit, trying to get himself adjusted to the receivers and to the speed? Or do you think it's all BS, he's just not good, and it's starting to show?
I mean, I think, yeah, I'm sure there's some factors. I think a lot of these guys are used to doing things a certain way through their entire career. Garoppolo is no different. He's used to like the last, 5 years the last 4 or 5 years in San Francisco, where it's, he'll have the first team reps for the most part through training camp and all this and yada, yada, yada. So maybe he works out some of those issues in preseason and beforehand, but some of the throws were just really, really bad. Like there was the one, I think it was a third down and Debo was kind of covered, but he threw it like a yard behind Debo. But if he threw it just ahead of him, then that would have been an easy first down. Maybe Debo breaks a tackle and runs for it. So that's not really a chemistry thing. To me, that's just a quarterback thing. And maybe part of that is the rust where he's not used to the game time speed of things, that he's like, well, in practice, maybe guys they're not going 110% like they do in the game. But to me, it's not like, look, if this was Trey Lance, then I would make those excuses. I would give those reasons. But at the end of the day, too, Jimmy Garoppolo has been in the league for 8-9 seasons. So at some point, and people talk to we have the best backup in the NFL and all this kind of carry on, but he has to make that throw. We're not asking, that wasn't a throw that was particularly difficult. It's one that he should have made. And there's a lot of throws he should have made. There's a lot of throws that he shouldn't have made. So it was kind of a disaster, offensively. And it's weird because we had that nice drive early in the game. Great little play right at the goal line where he hit Ayuk, just like that really quick little slant pass and just bam, touchdown. And from there, I was thinking, okay, I mean, I know that the run game outside of, Jeff Wilson had a big run here and there, but outside of that, the run game wasn't that effective. But I did think that we were throwing the ball just way too much. I think that we kind of went away from the run game a little bit early. I was like, wow, we are really leaning on Jimmy, on the shoulders of Jimmy a lot in this game against a very good defense. So yeah, overall, just really frustrating to watch, really difficult, as a Niner fan.
Yeah, I hear you, brother. I hear you. I like what Tracy says here. I'm sorry. I can't give him that excuse. And I understand that fan bases are upset, frustrated, and rightfully so. You come in this offseason with the expectations of watching Trey Lance, lead this team. You're excited. You hear all this crap about Jimmy, the whole Jimmy shoulder injury, surgery. He's still on the team, Sega, and he's not being moved. It gets dragged on like a soap opera. And then we get into towards the end, and they restructure him. He's a insurance policy, and what happens if something happens to Trey, and everybody's like, God forbid, if anything happens to Trey, we want to see Trey, complete a whole season, and then the ugliness of the ugliness happened week 2 when Trey went down, and the reality that Jimmy had to step in. And then you had those Jimmy supporters that, well, now this team is Super Bowl ready. Now this team is Super Bowl bound. They can win the Super Bowl. They can do this and do that. And I understand they support Jimmy, and that's their belief. And there's nothing wrong with it the way they believe, because that's who they support. But you cannot tell me the way that Jimmy performed on Sunday Night Football that Trey could not do better. As a rookie, as a third game quarterback, because it would have been his third game of this season, he would have done better. And I believe that Trey would have won that game. I really believe so. And people say, oh yeah, it's easier to say hindsight 2020, right? But Jimmy was just so terrible. And you're right. Not to take away from the defense of the Denver Broncos. They were great. Surtain was all over, blanketing Ayuk, like you mentioned earlier. But I still got to believe that Trey would have brought that other element to that game. He would have sparked that offense. He would have kicked it into gear. And that's something that we did not see from Jimmy. Jimmy complained. Jimmy bitter. Jimmy, I don't like the play calling. When you are a quarterback, you need to do the best you can to win the game. Maybe I'm being harsh or too harsh on Jimmy, but stepping out of the end zone and getting the safety, being a 8-year vet, is uncalled for. But that could have been a blessing in disguise because it looked to me, correct me if I'm wrong, you know where I'm heading with this, that looked like a pick six if it wasn't for that safety. So pick your poison, right? 6, possibly 7 points compared to 2. We got 2 points. We were still leading by a point. Yet, if they would have got the pick six, they would have led. So, I don't know, man. The whole offseason, the whole anticipation of watching Trey goes down. I can understand why 49er fans are upset and pissed off. And some of them blame Kyle, some of them blame Jimmy, and everyone, nobody's wrong and nobody's right. Everybody's entitled to their feelings because so far, at least in my opinion, it hasn't gone the way I thought it would go by going into week 4. So do you think, Kalen, that Trey could have done better in that game? Or based on that defense that you just said, you think he would have had his struggles as well?
I mean, yeah, that Denver defense is really good. So no doubt there would have been multiple times throughout the game that I think, Trey would have struggled, But I think if the offense was led by Trey Lance, we would have scored more than 10 points. So with a lot of other things, whether it's taking some more deep shots that'll open things up underneath, whether it's Trey Lance making, a couple of plays with his legs where he can pick up those third downs. And because we were 0 for 9, I don't even know if we picked up a third down in the game, maybe 1, which was just awful. And,
yes.
So I think, I believe that assuming that the defense would have played the same way, I believe that we would have definitely won with Trey Lance. I'm sure Trey Lance would have, he would have made some mistakes, too. He's like a young kid, but
Correct.
I think he would have made up for it by making some plays. I mean, what was the great play that, Jimmy didn't really do a whole lot in this game. Like a lot of the passes were very underneath, kind of given to him. He, really should have made some better throws to Debo, should have just even attempted to throw it, which I think Trey Lance could have, because Trey Lance has shown that he'll be aggressive too. And that was something that in week 2 with Jimmy, that was something that I liked that he was doing, was throwing the ball down the field to Ayuk and to Danny Gray. And at least the defense has to a certain degree, they have to respect it. But it was just a calamity of mistakes. I think there was the fumbled snap. We were around midfield, fumble the snap. There were some costly penalties, whether it was a holding penalty, whether there's a false start or whatever. But at the end of the day, and I look, we've talked a lot about Jimmy, we've talked about other things, but I do think that some blame has to be, of course, put on the shoulders of Kyle Shanahan too. I think the play calling, again, I wasn't a huge fan of just being so reliant on, maybe in the third quarter, I was like, wow, we are really, every time I'd see us come out in shotgun, and there's empty backfield, and I'm like, wow, we are really relying on Jimmy to win us this game. And I don't think that's a good idea. So and that play call that led to the safety. Straight away, Richard Sherman I think it was on Twitter, Richard Sherman was like, what is that play call? You can't do that play call at that part of the field. It's a play call that we've done multiple times before. It's a play call that I believe it was essentially the same kind of play call that in week 1 that almost got Tyler Kroft open, where Trey almost hit Tyler Kroft. But, it was just at that part of the field in that situation, awful. And then, to cap things off, which is even worse, we've now lost, Trent Williams for maybe a month, 2 months, which is just brutal. I think every single game this year, there's been something, Week 1, it was all the 12 penalties and the crazy weather. Week 2, Trey goes down. Week 3, somehow lose despite the defense only giving up 9 points. Trent Williams gets hurt. Azeez Al-Shire's hurt for a while. It's just, man, we just got to have a regular game here,
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. There was a question that was brought up, or a statement actually. And I want to get to it, and I want to get your thoughts on it too. Luis Moreno said, Beto. Oh, actually, it's a question. Do you think that? Do you really think that Lance would have won that game for us? I disagree on that. He ain't much better than Jimmy. Well, we can respectfully agree and disagree with one another, Lewis. I respectfully uh, appreciate you being here, first and foremost. But I do disagree with you as well. I think that Trey is a better quarterback than Jimmy. I think Trey is smarter between the years. The only thing that Trey doesn't have that Jimmy has is experience. That is what's holding Trey back, is the experience that he needs of watching these defenses and getting familiar with different defensive coordinators and what they like to throw at you, what they like to what kind of scheme are they running, on what do they run on fourth down compared to what do they run on first down. And these are the things that I agree. Trey doesn't have the experience, but Trey's smarter. Trey doesn't make bonehead plays. If he makes a play that it's not, listen, he played in college and he never turned the ball over once. I don't care how bad the defenses he played against were in college. The fact that you're still playing these defenses, you're still playing against corners, you're still playing against safeties, you still have a pass rush, whether they're elite defenders or not in college in the program that he played for. The reality is he could have thrown an interception and he was careful with the ball. That means he's smart. He doesn't take chances. So the inexperience, yes, I'm with you. But do I think that Trey could have won the game? Absolutely 100% without a doubt. And that's just my belief, Halen, but I appreciate you bringing that up, Lewis. Matt Carvin, welcome to the channel, brother. We got quite a few. I love this guy's name. Tech Village Idiot. I love it. Jimmy's not good. I'm with you. Appreciate that. Javier Rio says, truth be told, I blame the fellas on Kyle, Jimmy, and the offensive team. They all gave up. Now, we haven't really got into the loss of Trent Williams, and we're going to get into that. And that's going to be something that really scares me because, man, Jalen Moore looked
that was brutal,
terrible. I cannot believe I'm going to say this, bro. Is Daniel Brunskill going to be back? The fact that I just said that live tells you how bad Jalen Moore played. He's a guard that should not be playing tackle. And, man, I just cannot envision AD going on that side over Jalen Moore and not having a field day.
Well, Beto, I agree with you, man. To me, when Jalen Moore came in, I was just like, and I have to try and find the actual clip on my stream, but straight away I was like, oh no, not Jalen Moore. He got beat so badly in that preseason game against the Texans and I was really straight away, I was like, I think that Colton McKivitz should be out there. After maybe like 2 drives, they took out Jalen Moore because they were like, wow, he's just getting beat every play. I thought Colton McKivitz did pretty well. I mean, he wasn't like a crazy liability. I mean, of course, like he's not Trent Williams. Nobody else is Trent Williams. Trent Williams is unique. He's big, strong, powerful, smart, athletic. He can do everything. So there's always going to be a drop-off. But I think McKivitz can actually fill in and do a decent job. We saw him do that last year, Week 18, against the Rams, who were, coincidentally enough, who were playing on Monday Night Football. So I think we'll be okay at left tackle. He's, again, not nearly as good as Trent Williams, not saying that. But when it comes to Daniel Brunskill, now to me, what I think where we might see Brunskill is I think he could potentially take over for Brendel at center because I think he's been okay. Like he's been okay, but it sounded like from what Shanahan said in his press conference that it was the fumble, the snap that was actually Brendel's on Brendel, because I think they were supposed to go on one, but then Brendel's actually went on two, so that everyone else was already kind of going, and then like all the timing is off and everything. So it sounded like they were kind of like, well, it was actually on Brendel for that, but overall, I think that's where Brunskill might come in. Maybe he comes in and plays some center, but look, every team can complain about injuries. I think maybe not as much as we can. We've lost a lot of guys, but I think they're against the Rams. This is gonna be it's a big time game, because, and here's the thing that like, and I think it was actually Tracy Henderson who mentioned it earlier on, was saying that it is just one game. A lot of great teams have looked bad in one game, so you can't freak out. Like again, and I know you mentioned it too, Beto, that like last year at one point we were 3-5. We had lost to Colt McCoy at home somehow.
Yeah.
And things were looking ugly. But, I think with this defense, we will be in every single game. We have a chance to win. I firmly believe that. Sometimes people look at the schedule and they're like, well, I mean, the Chiefs, we're definitely going to lose that game. And it's like, well, the Chiefs just lost to the Colts, who hadn't won a game all year, who the week before didn't even score a single point. So, the NFL changes so much week to week and I think, look, I'm not happy with the performance in Denver. I thought it was offensively, that is. But if you think about it, let's say you take, for example, a team like the Colts. They got shut out by Jacksonville. They come back the next week and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, who everyone would have thought is like a top 2 or 3 team. So you just never know. The key is that I think now is that all offseason long, in training camp, preseason, everything was about, let's build this offense around Trey Lance and what Trey Lance can do. And then in the blink of an eye, it's like, oh, crap, okay, he's done for the year. Now we have to go back to things with Garoppolo.
Yep.
And it's a big change for everybody. I'm sure. I think we knew it was maybe going to take some time. But, the game, if we can win against the Rams, and we've had a lot of ownage over them, especially at home. So if we can win against the Rams 2-2, then guess what? We're on top of the division because of our division record, which could have huge implications down the road. But then we go on the road. Then we play Carolina. We play Atlanta, who I think I'd like to think that we'll be favored in both of those games. So when I hear people say, oh, the season's over, I'm like, well, no, it's not. But we really have to, and I'd like to think that maybe the performance on Sunday night will be a damn eye-opener, because I'm sure Kyle Shanahan, Anthony Lynn, and all the offensive coaches, and even some of the veteran players, they probably were like, what in the world just happened there? We got to fix this, and we got to fix this now. I mean, when you have players the caliber of Debo and Kittle and Juszczyk and Ayuk and all these guys who, everyone around the NFL thinks highly of, you got to score more points. You got to be better. So sorry, I've kind of rambled on for a while, but I'll hand it back to you, Beto. But that was just my, the season ain't over. Let's
oh yeah, the season's far from over, bro. And you're not ranting at all. You just do your thing, brother. The season's not far from over. We were at 3-5 last year, and we find ourselves, like I said, in the NFC Championship. But it is discouraging to have faith in Jimmy. And I know that people are calling for Mr. Irrelevant. Now, I'm not a Jimmy fan. I'm not, as you can tell. I love Trey. I don't hate Jimmy, but I'm over. Jimmy's the ex. Trey's the new girlfriend. Moving forward, okay, that's just the reality of it. But Jimmy as the ex is still over 18. Mr. Irrelevant is like trying to date someone under the age of 18. You just don't want to do that as an adult, if you get my drift. So I am not ready to go there. I'm not ready to go to Brock Purley yet. I will still take my chances with Jimmy against the Rams. Now, based on what happens with the Rams and what the turnout is, maybe next week I may want to go with a 17-year-old. And I mean that by youth of the young kid. I need to backpedal all this. I put myself in the hole way too quick on those comments. So, but my point, I know, my point being is, I'm not ready to give the reins over to Brock yet. I understand the frustration. I understand Niner fans are pissed off and they're disappointed in Jimmy, but I rather still roll with Jimmy against the Rams. He knows the Rams. He's played against that defense. Hopefully you would think he can adjust better than Brock that has never faced Aaron Donald and company. So, yeah, I'll take my chances with him. Now, earlier, Rufus, welcome to the channel. I thought this was funny. One support of Jimmy, one support of Trey. Rufus says, Trey lost to the Bears. No way he is beating Russell Wilson at home, right? Which is respected. That's his point. And then you have Texville Idiot, Team Trey. Jimmy lost to the Broncos. No way he's beating the Bears. I love it, man. There's team Jimmy and there's Team Trey. And again, I'm not a fan of Jimmy. I respected him when he got here. I respected him what he did, but I'm over him. I'm ready to move on. Unfortunately, we got to deal with him a little bit longer because of the circumstances, but no way in the world that anyone can ever convince me that Jimmy is better than Trey. This is why the 49ers, Kalen, pursued to give up 3 number ones to go get Trey. Now, you can't foresee Trey getting injured. And for those that blame Kyle for running Trey down the middle, yes, Kyle could have did something a little different, but Kyle was playing Trey to the best of his abilities at the moment. He's not a great passer yet. So the strength of his ability right now is to run. Now, did I like him running him like a running back? No. But it is what it is. Football is football. Football is not for sissies. It's for those that play contact football. So injuries happen, Kalen. Unfortunately, it happened to our quarterback in his first year of running the show. And we have to deal with Jimmy. But I am a firm believer that Jimmy is done. People have asked me, well, if Jimmy wins the Super Bowl this year, then what? I'm like, if Jimmy wins the Super Bowl, his market for him just went up. His value to get paid went up for him. Kudos to him. We get a Lombardi trophy, but he's still out the door. There's no way you're going to sit there and tell me that there's going to be a conversation that Jimmy's going to be here next year, period, whether he wins it all or not. And based on what I saw on Sunday, I'm not confident that we're going to win anything with him at the helm. It's just, people are just allowing themselves to express how they feel. What's up, Maverick? Long time no see, my friend. How you doing? Welcome to the show. Kaylin, listen, you feel a certain way. I feel a certain way. Everyone viewing this live feels a certain way. Some of those support Jimmy. Some of those of us don't. Some of us blame Kyle. Some of us don't. Now, all that to me is natural. When you're not winning, people begin to kind of bicker a little bit here. What resolves all these matters is winning. If Kyle can get back on the winning formula and we go out and we beat the crap out of the Rams. Now, if history can repeat itself, going into the Rams game last year on a Monday night as well, we weren't looking good either. We were looking pretty. I think we just lost to the Cardinals with their backup quarterback in our house. So a lot of us thought that the Rams were going to kill us on that Monday night game. And there was a killing, but it was the other way around. The Niners came and showed up and beat the crap out of the Rams. Do you think we see a repeat of that?
That we beat the Rams? I mean, I would say, look, if I was a betting man, which I would maybe put my money on. I'd maybe put my money on the Rams to win the game, but there's a lot of different scenarios where I see the 49ers winning on Monday Night Football as well. We always play the Rams pretty darn well. And now this year, I mean, we can just see how good the secondary is. The secondary is awesome. It's playing lights out. So I really do think that we have a good shot to beat the Rams. The Rams are still trying to find their way. Now they did what they did against the Cardinals, but I think that on paper, outside of the quarterback position, I think we're a much better team than the Cardinals are. But I think very quickly with the Jimmy and Trey, and look, I wish that Trey was healthy. I wish that he stayed healthy and could play the whole year. That was what I wanted. But obviously, injuries happen. Look, am I the biggest fan of Jimmy? Not really. But I mean, as long as he's out there wearing the Niners, red and gold, I'm rooting for him. I want him to do really well. I want to win. Although I wouldn't say I'm his biggest fan or anything, but I'm a 49er fan. So yeah, as long as he's going to be lining up behind center, I'm wanting him to do well, so I think there are some people that I read and see where people are like, oh, I want him to suck and do all this. And I want, no. And I'm like, come on now. At the end of the day, it's let's win some football games. We still have a fantastic team. And I think Jimmy will get better as the season goes on. What I'm really hoping for that, just this is a serious wake up call. Because if you think about it, in the national media, we're an embarrassment right now. Everyone's showing the clip of Jimmy stepping out the back of the end zone. Everyone's showing that we, interceptions and all this stuff and playing really badly on offense. And everyone's making fun of the game, which I could agree with. The game was, especially if you're not a fan of either team, the game was really difficult to watch. But at the end of the day, I think we're gonna bounce back. Maybe get that run game going a little bit more. Get some plays that we're get into some kind of a rhythm. And again, if we beat the Rams, we're top of the division, and then we have, in my mind, a couple of easier games coming up too, where maybe we can really start firing on all cylinders. So overall, I do like what the. I think there's still reason to be optimistic about the season, and although with our chances with Jimmy, definitely I think it's a little bit lower, but I still think there's a lot of good football this team had, and we just need to rebound and kind of just I'm sure everyone had a hard look in the mirror at themselves and been offensively, and if I'm the offensive players, I go into that defensive room and I'm like, we are sorry, we screwed up that game, that's on us. Next week, we'll pick you guys up. We'll make it happen. And, these guys got to show that they want to win. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens, But, I still have a lot of confidence in the year. I still think we're a playoff team. Plenty of games that, good teams have that just you're like, what was that? I'm sure, Bengals. You imagine Bengals fans after week 2, they're like, we went to the Super Bowl. We're 0-2. And then they win a game. So, now things as what you said, Beto, that winning cures everything. If you can go out, even when, no matter how you win, if we won that game 11-10, we'd be like, hey, we won. So, but yeah, so that's that's kind of my thoughts on that.
No, I agree. Listen, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Jimmy. I have moved on, but I am a fan, first and foremost, of the Shield, the SF Shield. That's who I represent. Exactly. We represent the SF, the team. Now, are we entitled to be crucial on certain players? Yes. Are we entitled to express how we feel based on what we see? Of course. That's what we are, fans. We are fans. And not everyone's going to agree with each and every one of us. We're always going to, some of us will agree, some of us will disagree, but we are entitled to our own opinion. But at the end of the day, I support whoever's behind center. Now, am I going to be crucial, Jimmy, if he continues to be bonehead plays? Yes. I'm not going to sit there and say, what the hell were you thinking? What are you doing stepping out of bounds in the end zone? You should know better than that. But am I ready to bring in Purley? No. I know that Jimmy gives us a better chance of beating the Rams than Mr. Irrelevant. Because I've seen the bad, the good, and the ugly with Jimmy. I really haven't seen anything with Pearly. He's an unknown factor. People used to always tell me people with bad credit can still get credit than those that have no credit. Because at least if you have bad credit, you exist to the credit bureau. When you have no credit, they don't know who you are. They always say, go and open up a credit line at a department store, build your credit a little bit, and then they start increasing bigger credit. Why? Because they want you to establish yourself before they take a risk on you. And that's how it works there. But you're right. I will continue to support the logo. I will continue to support Kyle because Kyle's the head coach. Do I always agree with him? No. But I will support him because he's the head coach. Do I like Jimmy? Am I moved on from Jimmy? Yes. But unfortunately, he is the quarterback this year because of the injury to Trey. So I will support Jimmy as well. But it doesn't mean that I'm going to be happy in supporting him. It doesn't mean that I'm going to be quiet in supporting him. It doesn't mean that I don't have things to say based on what he does. Now, if he does good, I'll give him also his props. If he plays well against the Rams, I will be the first one to say, good job, Jimmy. You did well. I'm not just going to shit on the kid and not give him his props. But if you do good for my team, I give you props. If you play like crap, I'm going to let everyone know how I feel about your playmaking. So same thing with Kyle. Nobody's above the team. And John Lynch. So it is what it is. So we kind of been a little bit on the negative side. Let's kind of lift up the morale a little bit. Killing. Let's talk a little positive. Let's move over to the defensive side of the ball for a bit, if you will. Hufanga. Talanoa Hufanga continues to play great. Do we by now have a playmaker in the making? Do you still have to see a little bit more of him? Because that timing play, when he hit that and kicked the crap out of that running back in the backfield, that was great timing. This kid is everywhere where the ball's at, he's at. Gibson played well. Bosa played well. Hey, congratulations to our rookie, Drake Jackson, with his first sack of the year. Congratulations to him. So there are positives amongst the negatives. Like I said, we're turning the page. We're going to stick positively now. What are your thoughts on Hufanga and the way that defense played and those names and those individual players that I just named?
Hufanga, amazing. Yeah, that play was awesome. Perfect. Obviously you give credit for Hufanga for making the play. Ridiculously good play. Also, you got to throw a little shout out there to D'Amico Ryans for calling that.
Yes.
D'Amico Ryans brought that safety blitz at the perfect time. So shout out to D'Amico as well on that play call. But yeah, the defense all in all has been really, really good. To me, I thought Hufanga had a good game. I also really, really liked what Charvarius Ward did in that game. And and that's why I'm actually still really confident in the year simply because of the defense. I think the defense is just so talented. And it actually, one of those things where, like, I remember last year, whenever teams, it was like 3rd and 7 or 3rd and whatever, and teams had 4 receivers, and I'd see Josh Norman out there and Drake Kirkpatrick, I was always like, oh, please pass rush, just get to the quarterback. Whereas now I'm like, I have so much more faith. And the faith in our secondary is only going to get better with Jimmy Ward, possibly Jason Verrett coming back too. So, I'll be super Dave the OG today.
No, I'm searching them as I go.
But yeah, it's one of those things where I thought that the defense is phenomenal. It's a bummer about Aziz getting hurt, but hey, we have Oren Burks, we have Demetrius Flanagan-Foles, and Demetrius Flanagan-Foles had a couple of nice plays, a couple of nice tackles, as well as still having Warner, Greenlaw. We look at our defensive line, Kinlaw quietly having a great year, not having like the big, huge numbers or whatever, but Kinlaw playing really, really well. We were without Eric Armstead, who I think a lot of people would agree he's probably one of our better players. Hopefully he's back next week. Bosa, a beast. That sack, I really did think that was tripping. I mean, I kind of don't know how we got away with that one. But Drake Jackson, he's getting more playing time. So obviously to the coaches, he's showing that his worth. Kerry Hyder with this overall, like the defense is phenomenal. And that's why, number one, I still have a ton of confidence this year that we can make things happen. We can go far. I still think we're a Super Bowl caliber team as long as the offense can do something. But not only that, I just know that we have in every single game that we play, we have a shot. Like we can win any game simply because of the defense. Like the only thing the defense didn't do on Sunday Night Football, which they had done in weeks 1 and 2, is they didn't force a turnover. Now they almost got a couple of them. The fumbles, for Denver's sake, luckily bounced back to their own guys. But overall, I think we have I believe going into any game, there's no game I see on the schedule where I'm like, that's an automatic loss. Like no chance because the defense is so good. And I think, yeah, as long as the defense can keep playing as well as it is, then we should be totally fine. I do think the offense will get better. And that's like, I mean, maybe I'm a glass half full kind of guy, but I do think the offense will get better. We have so many playmakers, guys will make plays happen. But yeah, the defense, phenomenal. Like just so good. And Hufanga, I think he's probably, him or Bosa are the MVP of the defense so far.
Yeah, definitely. He is Bosa and Hufanga are going to be special players for us. We already knew what we had in Bosa, and he continued to impress us all. And I'm excited. And you're right. The offense will get it together. This defense is just too good not to get us winning games. The pressure and the excitement that I have too, and that I want to just let the Niner fans feel good is Charvarius Ward. You brought him up. This guy can cover. Boy, can he press. We were lacking in that department. Did you notice when they were running the ball that they called Hufanga in to defend the run? Why did they use the Hufanga to defend the run? Because they trusted Mosley and they trusted Charvarius Ward out on the island. I guarantee you have Josh Norman or Dante. I forgot his. Help me out. Yeah, Dante Johnson. Thank you. They would have never called in Hufanga to defend that run. They would have took the chances, with that help out there. So that just allows us to be confident that, listen, yes, this offense needs to improve. Yes, I believe Kyle is smart enough to make the proper adjustments. Now, there's a concern about that left tackle position. I don't know what's going to happen there. That could pretty much change a lot of our offensive play going forward. I'm very interested in seeing what happens there. But defensively, I am very positive. I am very comfortable that we can keep up with Cooper Kupp. Now, Cooper Kupp killed us and kills everybody in the middle. Samuel Womack has been getting, little by little, he's been getting more confident, and PFF has him graded high. So this kid is special. So I'll take my chances with Cooper Kupp and the non-insisting Robinson. For so much they made such a big deal about this kid over there in free agency, and he hasn't done squat for that team. It's all on Cooper Kupp. We have Charvarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Samuel Womack. We got Lenore was playing out there as well. I'm okay with that. And then we have a ferocious defensive line, that can go and hunt. And kudos to Samson. And he doesn't get credit enough where credit is due. The guy can play the run. He still got to work on his passing skills. He's getting there. But this guy, Sanson, man, the boy can stop the run. I think PFF graded him high on that. You're not running on the outside. You're not running on Sanson. You're definitely not running on Bosa. And yes, we missed Eric Armstead, but kudos also to Kevin Givens for stepping in and handling his business. And people don't talk about it much because the sacks and the stats don't show it, Kalen. But Javon Kinlaw has been playing with his hair on fire, per se. Yeah, you don't see that in the stats with the sacks, but if you break down the all 22s and you see what he's doing, how he's demanding double teams, and how he's freeing up the linebackers, this guy is playing his best football. So he's only going to get better. So this defense is special, and I can't wait for it to continue to play. I just hope that this offense can step up a little bit. Now, with that said, Kalen, losing Trent Williams, how big? I mean, I know it's a big, huge factor. I know that, but do you think they can somehow muster a way to cope with the absence of one Trent Williams until we get him back?
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's going to change some things for sure. I mean, again, we just there's no one quite like Trent Williams. He is really, really like the best left tackle in football. I think McKivitz is okay. I don't think. I mean, I just don't want to see Jalen Moore out there, but I think McKivitz can do fine. And I think that as long as we can, we just need to get into some kind of like an offensive rhythm. That's like the big key. It's difficult because, I mentioned it earlier, you spend all off season, getting ready for one guy. And then straight away it's like, okay, now we got to change things. And Trey and Jimmy are just so different, in terms of how they play the game and whatnot. So, but I think as long as we can get into a rhythm, like the key is always, the one thing which I think is quickly becoming evident though is that running with Deebo Samuel. I think a lot of defenses have it kind of figured out, so we got to pivot away from that. Something that I would like to see us do is have Deebo in the backfield and maybe a lot of play action off of that, because defenses, although they have it figured out, I think to a certain degree, defenses still put so much emphasis and focus on Deebo that I think if we use that as like a fake, or we use that as like play action, it's going to cause the defense to go one way. Then if we go the other way with guys like Danny Gray and Ayuk and Kittle, but I think off the offensive line, it's going to get better, especially as guys like Banks, Burford, and Brendel, they get some more playing time as well. I think McGlinchey's been very up and down. They'll usually one or two plays a game that McGlinchey will kind of screw up on, but overall, I think he's been okay-ish. But I think as once they play more games, I think they'll get a lot better. And I think McKivitz is a pretty solid player too. He stepped in admirably last year. I think after they took out Jalen Moore, I thought McKivitz played pretty well against Denver. So yes, it's definitely a big loss. You can't understate that, but I still think that we should be able to come away and play pretty well on offense. This game on Monday night's a big, big game. Every game in the NFL is big, but division game, if we get back to 500, then we're on top of the division. You look ahead, some, winnable games. And I think what really favors the Niners is that some of the teams that we're going to be going up against, they don't have those mobile quarterbacks. And that's sometimes where this defense can struggle a little bit. Like as good of a thrower that Matthew Stafford is, he's kind of like somewhat of a statue back there. Then you have like Baker Mayfield after that. Mariota can move somewhat, so there you go. But I do think that if we can get on winning ways, like this game Monday night could really launch us into some really big positives if we can come away with a win here, and if the offense can get some rhythm going. Because it's so early, but there's a lot of good football to be played, and a lot of the teams people were thinking, oh well, maybe we'll lose to like the Chargers. they just got blown out by Jacksonville. You know,
Yeah.
the Kansas City Chiefs, they just lost to the Colts, who looked terrible week 1 and week 2. So, I think every game we can win it as long as we keep winning the division games, and then we step up and get the offense going somehow. This is going to be the true test for Kyle Shanahan now. I think this is a big test for him too, because he's a lot of talented players on offense, and Jimmy's a guy that he's been around here for a long time. So, if Kyle Shanahan wants to be known as one of the best offensive coordinators or best offensive play callers in the NFL, then got to put your money where your mouth is sometimes. And it's now, he's got to really show it and get Jimmy on the correct page and get him making the right reads. And, but yeah, with the offensive line, I think we'll be okay. But it's a loss, big time loss for sure.
No, I agree with you. I agree. I just want to ask a couple questions. We are coming down to our hour broadcasting this afternoon. David Avila asked, let me bring up his question. When is Verrett going to be ready? Well, he was put on IR. So according to the NFL, is when you go on IR, you have to miss 4 games. Now we're coming up to our 4th game. We're coming up to our 4th game on Monday. Now, that doesn't mean that they will call upon him, because when you have Emmanuel Mosley, when you have Ward, and everybody playing as well as they're playing, there is no need to bring Verrett into the scenes. You keep him on the burner. In my opinion, and you go from there. But he is eligible to come after he has to miss 4 weeks, so it'll be the game after the Rams where he'll be able to come up if they call upon him. Also, Rufus said, "Is Tampa Bay going to be good this year?" They will be. I mean, they lost one receiver to suspension. He'll be back. They'll get some receivers back. Whenever you have Tom Brady, in my opinion, even at 45, you still have a chance. Their defense is not as bad. Their defense is pretty good. So, yes, I think they will still be good this year. And I think they'll be in contention towards the end of the year in a playoff game with either us, the Packers. The team that I'm actually really, really surprised is Jalen Hurd and the Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. 3-0. Who would have thunk it? I'm not a Cowboy fan, so I hate the Cowboys. So I don't care who wins that division in the East, as long as it ain't the Cowboys. I am happy about that. But bringing it to a close, I think we hit the hour mark, actually. Coming to a close, my friend. Who do you want to step up on Monday night, other than the obvious, than Jimmy? But other than Jimmy, who do you want and expect to step up and have a good game, or needs to step up if we were going to win this game, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. It's a really good question. On the field, yeah, I think it's got to be either Kittle or Debo.
Okay.
I really want. I think maybe Kittle. He missed the first 2 weeks, and week 3 he didn't really get hugely involved. But I think we just know how big Kittle is for like the locker room. He's a very vocal leader, especially with a guy now like with Trent Williams out, so he won't really be able to be that guy on the field. I think Kittle leads by example. He obviously plays really, really tough, and it's I think we need to get Kittle similar to the game against at Cincinnati last year. I think we get Kittle involved a lot. And then once the defense starts having to go and put a lot of focus on Kittle, then you can hit Debo, then you can hit Ayuk. Maybe, you get Danny Gray involved with the deep pass, the running game. But I would like to see Kittle have a big time game. It's a division game. If we can really stamp our authority on the game, and I would like to see Kittle. I think you're muted.
Yeah, sure was. Thank you. I should install this hand that slaps me. So when I'm muted, you could just press a button. I just yeah. I just want to welcome Mary Fisk to the channel. She's a Vikings fan, a great gal. She supports her Vikings. I go on their Vikings channel and support them. They got to win this week, and congratulations on that win. Thank you for stopping by and showing me some love on my channel. I really appreciate that, Mary. But yeah, let me see the last question here. Do you guys think the coaching staff is on the hot seat? I'll let you answer this. For me, absolutely not. I don't think that Jed York has the cojones to put him on the hot. This is why Kyle Shanahan can be as arrogant as he wants to be, because he knows that this is his team right now. Now, keep screwing up, things may change, but I don't think he's on the hot seat. I don't think John Lynch, and I don't think they need to be on the hot seat either. Have we had a lot of winning seasons with them? No, but we took over a team that was bad. We dealt with a lot of injuries, and the times that we had a solid, healthy roster, we went to the Super Bowl and a couple of times to the NFC Championship. How many teams out there have not sniffed an NFC Championship game in decades? The Lions have not seen it in a long time. Jaguars haven't seen it. I can go on and on the list. The fact that we have gone through, I believe, 3 NFC championships or 2, and 2 and 1 Super Bowl appearance, speaks volumes in this coaching staff. So I don't think they're on the hot seat. What is your take on that, brother? Before we call it a day.
Yeah, I don't think he's on the hot seat yet. There's still a lot of things that have to play out this year. I do think that we will get the offense turned around where, not that I think our offense is going to be top 5 or maybe not even top 10 in the NFL, but I think it'll get better. But I don't think he's on the hot seat yet. We just came off an NFC Championship appearance where, we came pretty close to even winning that game. So, no, I don't think so. And I think, we gave up all those picks to select Trey Lance with the idea that Shanahan and his coaching staff would bring him up. So I think we want to see at least try and get a full season with Trey Lance and, Shanahan coaching him out of it. So I don't think he's on the hot seat. I think next year, if things don't go well, then that seat starts to get pretty warm. But I think this year he's pretty safe.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And again, we don't know how this season is going to play out. We only played 3 games. We still have a bunch of games left. If things turn out for the best, then we're not even having the discussion this next year. So this is a great question to discuss in the off season, because by then we will know exactly where we stand as a team and where the coach stands as a coach. Well, everyone, thank you for coming on our channel tonight. I was not going to go live. I was just going to pre-record this and then upload it, but I just kind of wanted to see who would jump on, and quite a bit of you jumped on without a thumbnail, just on the fly. I appreciate the love, guys. Go and support my boy Kalen, Shifty's 49ers Talk. He is doing great things on his channel. He is doing a lot of things. He's a great content creator, one of my co-hosts on this 49er weekly recap that we're doing in. So go support him. His channel is Shifty's 49ers Talk. Type it in, it will pop up. Go and subscribe to his channel. Go and hit that notification bell. And how can they reach you on Twitter? And what other platforms do you have, Kalen?
So I also have Twitter, which is Shifty 49ers Talk, and then Instagram, which is the same one. I definitely tweet a little bit more than I use Instagram, but hey, check it out, because I'll post updates whenever I post a video, and I'll throw my thoughts on the games as well. So yeah, check me out there, and of course on YouTube. Really appreciate Anyone who stops by, likes the video, subscribes. Yeah, if you like the content I put out, then do consider subscribing, because it does mean a lot.
Yeah, he does. He brings great content. I wouldn't say that if it wasn't true. I love it, watching his show. Mary, once again, thank you for stopping by and showing some love. Good luck for the rest of the season for your Vikings. Unless you face us in the playoffs, that's a different story. But until then, win every game you possibly can, and definitely beat win that division. I'm tired of seeing the go pack go for say. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching the second episode of the 49ers Weekly Recap. We do this once a week. Normally, these shows are uploaded, but thank you for joining us live today on my channel. Appreciate each and every one of you. Once again, Kalen, much love and respect for you, bro. Thank you for sharing your time of the day with me, and you have a wonderful day. And everyone, remember, remain faithful, and the season is still young. We will win more games than we lose. Believe me that. Until then, God bless you, and we're out of here. Peace.